Hi everyone, I'm Rachel and I'm the Research Communications Manager at Blood Cancer UK, and today I am delighted to be joined by Professor George Vassiliou. George, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm George Vassiliou, and I'm glad to be here. I'm a professor of haematology at the University of Cambridge, and my research revolves around acute myeloid leukemia and related blood cancers, such as the myelodysplastic syndromes and the myeloproliferative disorders. And we have a special interest in developing ways to prevent these cancers from arising in the first place, as well as an interest in treating.
Thanks, George. That's really helpful. So yeah, George is one of our amazing researchers. And as many of you may know, we've launched a new research strategy. And one of our kind of key pillars of the research strategy is to understand more about kind of the basic processes of blood cancer. So how do they arise and how might we be able to stop them? And George's work is a really good example of how we might do this. George, do you want to explain a little bit more about what you're doing with Blood Cancer UK funding and how this might help people in the future?
So first to say that Blood Cancer UK has supported me throughout my career, and I'm very grateful for that, and I'm a great proponent of what Blood Cancer UK is doing. But I come to my stuff now. So we have found in the last few years, going back to about 2015, that people who go on to develop blood cancer already have some changes in the blood that we can detect many years before they develop the blood cancer. The difficulty is that these changes are actually quite common and a lot of people have them, but only some of them develop the blood cancer. So in the more recent past, we've been able to find ways of finding the people who are at highest risk. And we're working to improve our ability to predict who is at high risk, such that we can invite those people initially into potentially investigational treatments that will aim to prevent them from progressing to blood cancer. We're a long way from that, but what we're doing now is trying to understand how these changes that are present in the blood before the blood cancer develops, how can they be manipulated or targeted with treatments to stop them progressing. And this is what this specific grant that we have been awarded from Blood Cancer UK is focusing on. It's focusing actually on the most common form of this, let's call it pre-leukemia, although it's a little bit of a strong term because, as I said, most people do not really develop leukemia. But we're focusing on a single gene. The name of the gene is DNMT3A. It doesn't matter so much the name, but what it does, it makes cells grow more than they should. And we're trying to now find vulnerabilities of the mechanism that makes the cells grow more and reverse that mechanism so the cells stop growing and in fact shrink back down, and that of course would stop the progression towards leukemia.
That sounds really interesting, thank you. And I mean, that's ultimately what we want to do, don't we? We want to be able to stop these diseases occurring in the first place. So yeah, really interesting to learn more about your research in the future and how you get on with your research project. Lastly, I'll just say, do you have a message for our supporters and the people who support Blood Cancer UK?
So yes, I do. I first want to applaud them for what they're doing and tell them that their efforts and the fruits of their efforts are put to good use. We in Cambridge, and not just my group, but several other groups, colleagues around the country, are working coordinately, tackling different aspects of blood cancers. And there has already been transformational change for some blood cancers. For others, the progress has been slower. But I'm optimistic and anticipate that recently introduced treatments and treatments that are about to hit the clinic in the near future are going to affect further improvements in the outcomes of patients. Unfortunately, we may always be left with people where the treatments fail. And this is also where the prevention strategy comes in. I think that my aspiration is that within the next 10 to 20 years, we will have actual programs to identify those at risk and also work to prevent cancer, not just treat it. So thank you all for your efforts, and I hope you will continue to support Blood Cancer UK.
Thank you so much, George. It was really lovely to speak to you.
The same. Thank you, Rachel.